The session we are going to discuss another question from mains 2022. To what extent in your opinion has the decentralization of power in India has changed governance landscape at the grassroots levels? Okay, so this is one of the recurrent themes in the examination. He will ask you this type of questions time and again, but in different formats. Okay, but our concern is we need to understand how the decentralization has really transformed in the country or changed the governance landscape in the country, right? So he is asking us a kind of overall understanding about the decentralization of governance in the country. He is not so much particular about 73rd Amendment Act or 74th Amendment Act and their effectiveness. He is asking us the overall decentralization kind of things, okay, with respect to governance at the grassroots level. So we need not just include the rural local bodies and urban local bodies. We need to write some other aspects which also act as a instruments of decentralization at the grassroots level. We need to understand that way. Okay. First of all, before we write the answer for this particular question, let us understand some fundamental things. Okay, right? What are those? Particularly, what is decentralization? Right? So decentralization means what? So decentralization means where the power is deconcentrated. Okay, where the power is deconcentrated. So power is not vested at one level itself. Okay, the power is not concentrated. Rather, the power is devolved or shared with lower levels. That is what called as decentralization. Okay, right? So power is deconcentrated and power is devolved and shared at the lower levels. Why the power should be decentralized? So the question is, what is the purpose of decentralization of power? Okay, so because decentralization of powers is very much important. Why? Because the decentralization will promote good governance. Good governance. How does it promote good governance? Okay. How does it promote the good governance? Because good governance is possible because this decentralization is on the basis of principle of subsidiarity. Principle of subsidiarity. Right? What is the principle of subsidiarity? Subsidiary principle means what? Right? This principle says that the power must be exercised closest to the people. It means power must be vested with such agency which is capable of performing such things, and moreover such agency must be closer to the people. Why? Because when the power is exercised closest to the people, what will happen? That will ensure the power exercised at the interest of the people, in the interest of the people, where people becomes stakeholders. People will have the control over such power centers, and power centers will be in a position to respond to the changing needs of the people. The waiting time for the service delivery will be decreased, and the people say in the service quality will increase. Okay, this will be having a kind of a positive impact on the governance. That's why we need to promote what is it? Principle of subsidiarity. So the principle of subsidiarity distinguishes which functions must be transferred to the lower levels, which functions must be vested with the higher levels. So that principle we need to understand. Okay, we need to employ in the process of decentralization. And moreover, the decentralization also has its own context. The context here is LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. After LPG came into the prominence, after the LPG has started its era in the country, the decentralization scope and penetration got also increased. right? So LPG primarily believes in the leaner governments or in the minimal governments. So that is possible only when you are able to create the power centers at the lower levels. So that is the most important thing. If you do not create the power centers at the lower levels, if you do not devolve the powers to the lower local bodies, it is not possible that the government can be leaner and thinner. So that's the reason why we need to ensure decentralization by means of democratic decentralization. What is it? Democratic decentralization. This democratic decentralization was made by 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment Acts. So 73rd, as you know very well, Panchayat Raj institutions, and 74th Constitution Amendment Acts have established the urban local bodies at the grassroots level. So this is one aspect, okay, right? So this will ensure the governance can become decentralized and people will become more empowered. People will get to have a say in the matters that will be affecting them in the day-to-day lives, okay? So that is the thing we are going to understand here, okay? So the question is, to what extent in your opinion the decentralization of power in India has changed the governance landscape, okay? So first of all, we need to write what is decentralization in the introduction, okay? So the term decentralization is a buzzword after liberalization, privatization, globalization, after LPG, which emphasizes the deconcentration of power, and devolution of power to the lower levels, which gives the perspective of governance to become more citizen centric. Thus leading to good governance. So this is how we can write the context, okay, right? The term decentralization, which is a buzzword after LPG, which emphasizes the decentralization and devolution of power, okay, to the lower levels, which gives a perspective, the perspective of governance to become more citizen centric and leading to good governance. So this is how we need to write the introduction, right? And then we need to write how the decentralization has been existed. Actually it has been manifested, okay, right? So the decentralization, in fact, it's a broader theme affecting administrative, okay, and we can say administrative, political, and even economic perspectives of governance, economic matters of the government. So administrative, political, and economical, right? In the administrative arena, we are able to see the decentralization in various dimensions. Like, for example, we are able to see Right to Information Act. So this is a decentralization of access to information. Why? Because prior to RTI, there was only Article 105, Article 194, where MPs and MLAs or MLCs are able to demand the information in a centralized manner. Okay, now the citizen is able to demand the information which is commonly affecting his day-to-day life. Okay, similarly, we are able to see citizen charters. Okay, citizen charters is another way how the administration gets decentralized. Why? Because the citizens can expect what are the services that can be given on a given day or within a given time frame, and with what quality and with what punctuality. So this is also a kind of decentralization. Why? Because the administration and citizen will come to an interface to decide the quality and timeline of the services. So this is how. And moreover, we are able to see accountability wise citizen, what is that, social audit. You can see social audit. So where administrators are held answerable to the people at the lower levels. So that is also a decentralization. Okay. And moreover, we are able to see, for example, right to education Act, RTE, which has promoted the school management committees, SMCs. Okay, this is also a decentralized exercise of power. Okay, similarly, we can see the self-help groups promoting, or we can see ASHA workers. Like, let us write. Okay, ASHA workers, accredited social health activists. So they are also important very much with respect to community health care and community health systems. So that is also decentralized administration. Okay, and we can find other things like grievance redressal. Okay, so citizen satisfaction service, citizen satisfaction service. Like this, there are different administrative dimensions we can see. Okay, and coming to political dimensions, political aspects. With respect to political aspects, we are able to see rural local bodies, RLBs, and urban local bodies. Okay, particularly just now I told you 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts, right? So they have created clearly a kind of bodies which are responsible for the local governance. And coming to the economic matters, in the matters of economy, we are able to see cooperatives. Okay, so the culture of cooperatives, because 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011 gives the responsibility to the government to encourage the formation of cooperatives. So that is helping in debureaucratization. Okay, so and moreover, democratization of development. So people can decide their developmental choices. Okay, and moreover, self-help groups. The self-help groups are also one of the major aspects of economic empowerment of communities. This is also one aspect of decentralization, right? So social capital, we can say. So that is how the development is possible. So decentralization, that is democratization, debureaucratization, delegation. These are all the aspects of decentralization in the country. Okay, right. So this is one aspect. So how the decentralization has taken place. Now we need to understand the assessment. Okay, right. In your opinion, to what extent the decentralization has changed the governance landscape? Okay, right. So how did it actually change? Okay, first of all, due to the urban local bodies and rural local bodies. Okay, so these have created a kind of responsive governance, we can say. Responsive governance. It is able to fix the accountability with respect to politicians, that is local body leaders, as well as bureaucrats, right? And we are able to see a kind of a significant change in the rural governance landscape. In fact, for example, we are able to see certain aspects like solid waste management. Okay, this has gotten a clear attention. Okay, water supply. Okay, because people are able to monitor and gauge the local government's performance through these two things. For example, sanitation as well as water supply. And moreover, after 15th Finance Commission recommendations, the local bodies started performing in a tremendously, in a very significant manner. In fact, we are able to see very good rural infrastructure. Okay, urban infrastructure. We are able to see smart cities mission. Okay, Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission, Amrut cities, like that. There are various funding mechanisms that have come into prominence, and particularly in the rural areas, one of the most important schemes is MG Narega. Okay, of course, in the recent times its name has been changed, and also the framework also got changed. But we can understand the fund availability to the local bodies have tremendously increased, and Moreover, we are able to see the better sanitation because of various program initiatives by the central governments like Swachh Bharat Mission and other things. They are actually given the more empowerment to rural and urban local bodies in conducting surveys for the sanitation, in solid waste management practices, and also village level plantation and urban forestry. In all those matters, the local bodies got more and more involvement. Okay, right. Similarly, we are able to see the decentralization more effective in the form of RTA, because these RTA citizen charters, local bodies will all strengthen the concept of principle of subsidiarity. Right. For example, RTA has made the citizen to be truly upholding the government across the levels, central government, state government and local bodies, which may be affecting him day to day lives. So he does not require any kind of representative to question the government on his behalf. He can directly question the government. That is how we are able to see the decentralization. Okay, citizen charters, this is helping in the predictable services. Of course, it has not been completely materialized, but there are certain issues, but still, so it has created a kind of culture of accountability. And the social audit also has created its own impact, particularly with its operationalization in the MG Narega. Okay, and that's how we are able to see some positive aspects of this particular decentralization. But however, we can see the decentralization is not truly effective. So where decentralization is not truly effective. Okay, so how it is not truly effective? It is not truly effective because of certain structural reasons. The local bodies lack 3 F's: funds, functionaries and finances. So they are lacking that. State governments are not serious about transferring the functions to the local bodies. For example, 11th schedule talks about 29 subjects, but out of them very few subjects have been transferred to the local bodies, because such transferring power is there with the state governments by means of their own legislations. Okay, so 12th schedule has 18 subjects, only few have been transferred to the local bodies. In other words, the local bodies are increasingly being treated as the subordinate agencies rather than empowered institutions. For example, Telangana State Panchayat Raj Act of 2018 talks about stringent control given to the district collector in controlling and regulating the local bodies. So that kind of regulatory culture still did not diminish even after the enactment of the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. They failed to give financial empowerment because finance commissions are not frequently constituted. So they are not constituted with the proper periodicity. So to assess the fund requirement, to assess how much resources can be transferred to the local bodies, that assessment is seriously missing. And there is no focus upon research and development regarding the better functioning of the local bodies. There is no adequate training of the local representatives, and the resistance from the bureaucracy, rural local bureaucracy, and lack of professionalism on part of the local bureaucracy, because they are not trained to deal with certain important issues like solid waste and other governance specific matters. So these are the certain issues. And apart from that, even today the rural local governance landscape did not transformatively change right from the British rule. So the role and relevance of the district collector continue to exist even after the enactment of the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So in other words, there is some sort of half-heartedness with respect to the state governments in devolving the functions to the local bodies. So these are certain issues, and moreover, local bodies are not also undergoing elections with the proper periodicity. For a lot of time, their elections are not being conducted, and elections are simply postponed. So this is how one aspect is there. And coming to other aspects, the decentralization. For example, we can take the example of RTA. Okay, RTA Act has been successively weakened, because we can see the 2019 Amendment Act to RTA, and political parties were not brought into the fold of RTA effectively. and there are certain structural and fundamental issues concerning the Right to Information Act. Similarly is the case with citizen charters. It is not properly implemented because there is no proper legal framework. It is completely voluntary and it depends upon the vigilance of the civil society. So first of all, the decentralization is possible only when the local people have the capacity to govern themselves. But unfortunately in India, the people are not having adequate knowledge and skills and abilities to govern their own matters. So citizen charters are also weak. And moreover, the bureaucracy is not cooperating. Social audit, okay, social audit kind of things are not properly rolled out with proper effectiveness because of various reasons, local politics and local governance issues and bureaucrats, and there are fundamental issues that are making the local systems to be failing, right? And lack of people participation, and moreover Grama Sabha and ward committees are not effectively operationalized and they are not performing the functions effectively. And moreover, the local bodies, because of the fund starvation, because of the lack of technical expertise and professionalism, the rural local governance and urban local governance landscape did not transformatively change, because governance matters at the local level ignore certain fundamental things like livelihood, safety, traffic management, and certain things are kept outside the purview of the urban local bodies, particularly in the urban areas. And in the rural areas, MGNREGA is there, but however, they are not, the scheme is not purposefully and particularly targeting making the livelihood sustainable, and fundamental issues are not being resolved through MGNREGA. So that is how you are able to see the negative aspects of the decentralization in the country. I mean, what are the flaws with respect to decentralization? So decentralization is made, of course there is a decentralization, but however it is not truly effective. For example, you take cooperatives. Cooperatives are also very much important tools of decentralization, of development, mobilizing the people, but unfortunately there is a divide across North India and South India. So the cooperatives are very much active in certain pockets of the country, and in other larger areas where the poverty is very much widespread, in those areas the cooperatives are not functioning. Similarly, self-help groups, in the context of self-help groups also, there is a rural and urban divide that persists between North India and South India, as well as urban areas and rural areas. Particularly SHGs are more promoted in the rural areas, not in the urban areas. So there are certain fundamental issues that are there with the decentralization. So in the conclusion, we can write a way forward. So in the way forward, we need to write the points like, okay, truly empowering urban local bodies and rural local bodies by transferring 3F, by regularly constituting SFCs, okay, and giving more powers to the local bodies, matching their needs and responsibilities, okay. So that is one aspect, and truly operationalizing the service quality through citizen charters, increasing the service quality through citizen charters by enacting and enabling legislation. Some legal framework must be required, and the bureaucratic culture must be changed to the attitudinal changes by means of training and professionalism, okay, and trying to inculcate more people friendly value system in the bureaucracy. So that is also one of the important aspects, right? And moreover, so promoting the cooperatives and self-help groups across the country so that development can be truly decentralized, okay. So that's why decentralization cannot be just seen in the symbolism, rather it must be having the substance, okay. So you can write different examples also. Even second ARC has recommended the district collector's role in the local bodies must be reduced, and moreover he must be made an integral part of the rural local government system by making him as a secretary to the urban government, okay. So those kind of transformative ideas can also be written, okay, right. So even second ARC itself has mentioned a point that the police commissioner in the cities must be made answerable to the mayor of the city. So like that, there are too many issues we can understand from this thing, okay, right. So this is how we need to write the answer, okay. I hope you got the idea how to write introduction, how to write the body of the answer, and how to write the conclusion or way forward. Okay, so please do watch these videos. Probably you may be thinking that it is a time for the preliminary examination or like that, or you may be having other thoughts, but having watched this video at least two times a week, it will definitely frame your mind in such a way that you can write the mains answers in the effortless manner. Okay, I hope you understand the things properly, and if you have any queries, please keep in the comment box. Thank you for watching.